Welcome to the Wellness Lab Digest, where we help you to absorb powerful, life-changing insights from top wellness experts with our daily, bite-sized wellness podcast summaries. Each episode is packed with distilled, powerful takeaways to boost your health and well-being. To support this podcast, please scroll down on whatever app you're listening on. Ratings and reviews are helpful. Even better, just send the show to a friend. Or check out our sponsors at the bottom of the page, or simply click the Support the Show link.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be looking at Gretchen Rubin and her happiness project.
Okay.
And we're going to be using excerpts from her talk at Google as our guide.
Excellent.
So, as fans of Rubin's work, you're likely already familiar with her practical approach to happiness.
Yeah.
But get ready to uncover some fresh perspectives
Okay.
and some surprising insights on what truly makes us tick.
You know, one of the things that always strikes me about Rubin's work is how she tackles happiness as a project.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about waiting for some magical moment of bliss.
Right.
It's about actively shaping our lives to cultivate joy.
It really challenges that age-old notion that simply thinking about happiness makes it slip away.
Right.
It's about taking action, making those small, deliberate choices
Yeah.
that nudge us in the right direction.
Exactly. And speaking of deliberate choices,
Okay.
Rubin's 4-part happiness formula,
Okay.
feeling good, feeling bad, feeling right, and an atmosphere of growth,
Mm-hmm.
really breaks down the components of a fulfilling life. You know, that feeling right element
Okay.
is particularly powerful.
Okay.
It suggests that aligning our lives with our values,
Right.
even when it means embracing temporary discomfort, can be a key source of happiness.
It's like that story Rubin tells about the man visiting his estranged father in the hospital, right?
Exactly.
The visits were emotionally draining, but he felt a deep sense of satisfaction
Right.
in doing what he believed was right, even though it wasn't easy.
That anecdote perfectly illustrates how feeling right can fuel our actions.
Yeah.
Even when it doesn't lead to immediate gratification.
Right.
It taps into a deeper well of purpose and integrity,
Okay.
which research suggests is fundamental to long-term happiness.
And then there's the atmosphere of growth,
Mm,
the feeling of progress, no matter how small.
yeah.
I love how she uses that relatable example of cleaning out the refrigerator.
Yeah.
It's a chore most of us dread, but that sense of accomplishment when it's done.
Right.
Pure atmosphere of growth.
Absolutely. It speaks to the power of even mundane achievements to spark that feeling of forward momentum.
Yeah.
Psychological research backs this up, showing that a sense of progress,
Okay.
even in small increments, is a key driver of motivation and well-being.
It's about recognizing that happiness isn't some static state,
Yeah.
but a dynamic process of moving towards something meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Rubin doesn't shy away from the inherent tension between accepting ourselves as we are
Right.
and striving for improvement.
Yeah.
Her personal commandment, Be Gretchen, is a reminder to honor our authentic selves
Yes.
while still reaching for growth.
That's a struggle we can all relate to, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Rubin's personal anecdote about overcoming her fear of driving
Mm-hmm.
beautifully illustrates this delicate balance. For years, she relied on her husband.
Yeah.
For most of the driving, accepting her self-proclaimed fearful driver status.
But it was that nagging feeling, those dreams of being unable to drive in an emergency, that ultimately pushed her to face her fear head on. It makes you wonder how often we let fear hold us back from experiences that could lead to both personal growth and ultimately greater happiness.
Exactly. And it highlights that sometimes true growth requires us to step outside our comfort zones,
Yeah.
even if it feels counterintuitive.
On the other hand, Rubin talks about finally accepting that she simply doesn't enjoy music.
Mm-hmm.
She spent years trying to cultivate a love for it,
Right.
thinking it was something she should enjoy before realizing it wasn't part of her true nature.
It's a great reminder to question those shoulds in our lives, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are we chasing certain goals because they genuinely resonate with us?
Right.
Or are we bowing to external pressures?
Right.
Rubin encourages us to get real about what truly sparks joy,
Okay.
even if it means letting go of aspirations that don't align with who we are.
It's about being honest with ourselves, about what truly makes us tick,
Yeah.
even if it goes against conventional wisdom or
Mhm.
societal expectations. And speaking of honesty, Rubin's emphasis on good habits as a foundation for happiness is another key takeaway. In fact, she even hints that her next book will be all about this.
What's interesting here is her focus on concrete, actionable resolutions
Hmm.
rather than vague aspirations.
Right.
She uses the example of being less stressed, a common goal.
Yeah.
It's often too broad to be helpful.
Instead of aiming for that nebulous idea of less stress,
Yeah,
she suggests breaking it down into specific behaviors like getting enough sleep,
right.
connecting with friends,
Yeah.
or making time for creative pursuits. It's about taking that big, overwhelming goal
Okay.
and turning it into manageable steps.
Precisely. It's about turning intention into action,
Okay.
creating a clear roadmap for change.
Now here's where things get a little paradoxical.
Right.
Rubin argues that we can only change ourselves, not others.
Right.
Yet she also observes that personal change often ripples outward, impacting those around us.
Yes.
It may seem unfair.
Right.
But by shifting our own actions, we can subtly influence our relationships
Yeah.
and even our work environments.
It really makes you think about the interconnectedness of our lives, doesn't it?
It does.
If personal growth isn't just about individual happiness,
Right.
but also about fostering a more positive atmosphere in our spheres of influence, that's pretty powerful stuff.
Right. Rubin even shares how changes she made during her own happiness project
Yeah.
led to shifts in her relationships, even though she wasn't intentionally trying to change anyone else.
Right.
It's like our actions create a kind of positive feedback loop, boosting happiness not just for ourselves,
Yes.
but for those in our orbit.
It's a fascinating concept and one that's been backed by research on emotional contagion.
Right.
Our moods and behaviors
Yeah.
can have a surprisingly strong impact on the people around us.
Speaking of impact,
Yeah.
Rubin dives into this fascinating phenomenon where our perception of time
Okay.
seems to accelerate as we age. Those first 21 years can feel like an eternity, while the years between 60 and 80 might zoom by in a flash.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, Rubin suggests that novel and challenging experiences can actually slow down our perception of time.
Wow.
When we're constantly processing new information,
Okay.
time feels more expansive.
You know, she actually brings up her own struggle with this.
Okay.
She loves her life and doesn't want to make any drastic changes, but she also feels that sense of time slipping away.
Right.
She even jokes about getting a pet just to shake things up.
Okay.
It's so relatable, that desire to maintain stability
Yeah.
while also craving newness and excitement.
Right.
It makes you wonder, how do we strike that balance?
That's a question we all grapple with. And
Yeah.
it leads us to another fascinating concept Rubin introduces.
Okay.
Schedule, unscheduled time.
Okay.
In a world where work bleeds into every aspect of our lives,
Right.
the idea of intentionally carving out time for leisure might sound counterintuitive.
It's like a paradox, right?
It is.
But with smartphones buzzing and the lines between work and personal life blurring,
Yeah.
it's easy to fall into a state of perpetual busyness without truly relaxing.
Exactly. Rubin emphasizes the importance of intentionally creating space for genuine leisure. It's about being proactive rather than reactive with our time,
Okay.
ensuring we're not just constantly plugged in.
Which brings us to another insightful concept, the bad trance.
Yeah.
That mindless state of scrolling, clicking, and consuming that neither brings present enjoyment nor future payoff. I know I've definitely fallen into that trap before.
It's a trap many of us fall into, especially in our hyper-connected world.
Yeah.
The bad trance is a helpful framework for evaluating our leisure activities.
Yeah.
Are we choosing activities that energize us and create lasting memories?
Yeah.
Or are we simply numbing ourselves with passive consumption?
You know, this might seem like a bit of a left turn, but Rubin brings up this startling statistic about laughter.
Okay.
Children laugh around 400 times a day, while adults only laugh about 17 times. It's a pretty sobering thought. Do you think we just lose our sense of humor as we get older?
It's not necessarily about losing our sense of humor.
Okay.
It's more about the pressures and responsibilities of adult life, often crowding out those moments of lightness and levity.
Yeah.
Rubin, who describes herself as tightly wound,
Okay.
admits to actively working on bringing more laughter into her life.
She even made a resolution to be more fun, which I find both endearing and inspiring.
It's a great reminder that we don't have to be naturally bubbly
Right.
to cultivate more joy in our lives.
And it ties into her discussion of the levity effect.
Yeah.
Now, I know this wasn't specifically mentioned in the Google talk,
Okay.
but Rubin has written about this concept extensively. Essentially, it suggests that a lighthearted atmosphere,
Yeah.
particularly in the workplace, can act as a social lubricant, helping us navigate challenges and build stronger relationships.
It's not necessarily about cracking jokes all the time. It's about approaching situations with a more playful and less serious attitude. It's about creating an environment where people feel comfortable being themselves and where a little bit of laughter can go a long way in diffusing tension.
So it's not about being a comedian, it's about fostering a spirit of playfulness and lightheartedness.
Exactly. It's about finding those moments of joy and laughter, even amidst the inevitable stresses and challenges of life.
And ultimately, it seems like that's what Rubin's Happiness Project is all about, finding those small, intentional ways
Yeah.
to cultivate more joy and meaning in our lives.
And she practices what she preaches. Rubin still follows most of the resolutions from her original Happiness Project,
Right.
simply because they make her happier.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It does.
And it highlights the power of tracking and accountability.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just checking off boxes, that act of monitoring our behavior can make a huge difference in sticking to those positive changes.
Absolutely. It helps us stay mindful of our goals and celebrate our progress along the way.
And it reminds us that happiness isn't some elusive destination.
Right.
It's a journey paved with small, intentional choices.
Yeah.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's pause here for now.
Okay.
We'll be back in a moment to explore some more of Rubin's insights on happiness.
Welcome back. Picking up where we left off, I think another idea that resonates with a lot of people is Rubin's observation about the power of outer order to foster inner calm.
You know, it's funny you should mention that, because one thing that really stuck with me from the talk was Rubin's discussion of the empty shelf. She talked about how something so seemingly simple
Right.
can evoke such a strong emotional response.
What's fascinating is that Rubin didn't set out to make the empty shelf a thing.
Right.
But the response she's gotten from people has been remarkable. People
Yeah.
have written to her saying how much they cherish their empty shelves.
Yeah.
It creates a sense of spaciousness and even a feeling of abundance,
Right.
especially in a world that often feels so cluttered and chaotic.
It's like a visual reminder that we have room for new possibilities.
Yeah.
Both literally and figuratively. It's almost counterintuitive, right?
That is.
You'd think a full shelf would symbolize abundance.
Right.
But there's something about that emptiness that feels freeing.
It speaks to the power of our physical environment to influence our mental and emotional well-being.
Right.
This isn't just a trendy minimalist thing.
Yeah.
There's a growing body of research on how clutter impacts our cognitive function and stress levels.
Right.
Creating outer order, even in small ways, can genuinely contribute to inner peace.
And it's not just about empty shelves.
Right.
Rubin connects this back to the broader theme of outer order and inner calm.
Yes.
She argues that tidying up our physical spaces can help us feel more in control of our lives.
Yes.
Which in turn contributes to a sense of well-being.
Absolutely. There's a sense of satisfaction that comes from decluttering, organizing, and creating a more harmonious environment. Even small acts like making your bed in the morning can set a positive tone for the day.
It's funny you should say that, because Rubin mentions that making the bed is the most popular resolution. She hears from people who've done their own happiness projects.
Right.
You wouldn't think something so mundane would have such a big impact.
But it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's a small victory, a tiny accomplishment that can set a positive tone for the day. It's a visual cue that you're taking control of your environment and starting your day with intention.
It's almost like priming yourself for success, starting with the smallest of tasks.
Precisely. And these seemingly insignificant actions can accumulate over time, creating a ripple effect of positivity.
You know, Rubin tells this story about a woman who throws away everything in her refrigerator on January 1st.
Oh, wow.
A fridge zero approach to starting the year fresh.
Okay.
It might seem extreme, but I kind of love it.
Yeah.
It's like a symbolic cleansing ritual.
It speaks to that universal desire for a fresh start, a clean slate.
Yeah.
And again, it ties back to the idea of those concrete actions that lead to lasting change. Instead of just wishing for a more organized life, you're taking specific, tangible steps to make it happen.
It's not just about creating a more visually appealing space, right?
Right.
It's about the mental and emotional benefits that come with outer order.
Yeah.
It's about creating an environment that supports our well-being.
Exactly. It's about creating an environment where we can thrive. Now, shifting gears a bit. Another aspect of happiness that Rubin delves into is our connection with others.
Okay.
Specifically, she talks about this fascinating phenomenon called emotional contagion. Yeah. The idea that we catch emotions from the people around us just like we catch a cold.
It made sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
We're social creatures, and our moods and feelings are constantly being influenced by the people we interact with.
And unfortunately, research shows that negative emotions are often more contagious than positive ones.
Oh, really?
Think about how easily a bad mood can spread through a room, or how someone's negativity can bring down your own energy.
It's a good reminder to be mindful of the emotional energy we bring to our interactions, isn't it?
It is.
While we can't always control our own emotions, we can make a conscious effort to cultivate positivity
Right.
and avoid spreading negativity.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that our emotions are not just personal. They have an impact on the people around us. But here's the good news.
Okay.
Just as we can catch negative emotions, we can also catch positive ones.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
It's like a positive feedback loop. Our joy can spread to others, creating a more uplifting atmosphere for everyone.
Exactly. And it's not just a feel-good notion.
Okay.
It's one of Rubin's splendid truths about happiness.
Okay.
One of the best ways to make ourselves happy is to make other people happy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best ways to make other people happy is to be happy ourselves.
That's such a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah.
It suggests that happiness is not a finite resource.
Right.
It's something we can create and share.
It reframes happiness as a collective experience rather than an individual pursuit.
Right.
And it underscores the importance of prioritizing our own well-being.
Mm-hmm.
When we're feeling happy and fulfilled, we're better equipped to spread that joy to others.
It's not selfish to seek happiness. In fact, it can be a powerful way to make a positive impact on the world.
It is.
Now, thinking about everything we've discussed so far, if you could go back in time,
Yeah.
knowing what you know now about happiness, what advice would you give your younger self?
That's a thought-provoking question. You know, Rubin actually reflects on this in her talk.
Okay.
She shares that if she could go back,
Mm-hmm.
she would emphasize the importance of being true to oneself.
Okay.
She spent a lot of time trying to conform to external expectations,
Right.
chasing goals that didn't truly align with her nature.
She used the example of going to law school,
Yeah.
which is a path she ultimately found unfulfilling.
Yes.
It's a classic example of following a conventional path
Yes.
without really considering whether it was the right fit.
And it raises an important question for all of us. Are we living in accordance with our own values and interests, or are we letting external pressures dictate our choices?
That's a great question.
Rubin encourages us to be more intentional about crafting a life that reflects who we truly are.
I think that's a struggle so many people can relate to, especially in today's world where there's so much pressure to achieve and succeed.
Right.
But how do we actually go about discovering those core values and interests, especially if we're not already clear on what they are?
Yeah.
I remember someone in the audience at Rubin's Google Talk asked that very question.
It's a great question, and Rubin admits that there's no easy answer.
Right.
She suggests that reading widely, particularly works by insightful authors like Samuel Johnson,
Yeah.
can help us gain a deeper understanding of ourselves.
Yeah.
It's about exposing ourselves to different perspectives
Right.
and finding the ideas that resonate with our own experiences.
It's like holding a mirror up to ourselves, but instead of seeing our physical reflection,
Yeah.
we're seeing a reflection of our values and beliefs.
Exactly, and it's a process of ongoing self-discovery.
Yeah.
Rubin even mentions that she's working on a quiz for self-knowledge as part of her upcoming book on habits.
Oh, cool.
It's designed to help people identify their strengths, weaknesses, and tendencies,
Okay.
ultimately leading to greater self-awareness.
I love that it's like a fun, accessible tool to jumpstart that process of introspection.
Yeah,
But even without a quiz, there are so many resources available to help us along the way.
right.
From therapy to journaling to simply having honest conversations with trusted friends and family members. The key is to be curious, ask ourselves those tough questions,
Yeah.
and be open to the insights that emerge.
And it's not a process that ends with a single quiz or a single book. It's about incorporating self-reflection into our daily lives, making choices that align with our evolving understanding of ourselves.
It's a lifelong journey and one that's worth taking.
Absolutely. And remember, self-knowledge is a powerful tool for personal growth and happiness. Now, circling back to the idea of emotional contagion, Rubin makes another fascinating point about how our own happiness can impact the people around us.
Right. It's not selfish to prioritize our own well-being.
Yeah.
In fact, when we're happier, we're actually better equipped to contribute to the happiness of others.
It's a powerful reminder that taking care of ourselves isn't just about indulging in self-care rituals or pursuing personal goals.
Right.
It's about recognizing that our own well-being has a ripple effect on the people we love
Yeah.
and the communities we're a part of.
It's not about choosing between our own happiness and the happiness of others.
Right.
They're actually interconnected.
Mm.
And by cultivating our own joy, we can contribute to a more positive and uplifting world for everyone.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that happiness is contagious.
Yeah.
By taking steps to boost our own well-being, we can become agents of positive change in the lives of those around us.
It really makes you think about the kind of emotional footprint we leave on the world.
Mm-hmm.
Are we spreading joy and positivity, or are we inadvertently contributing to a more negative atmosphere?
It's a powerful question to consider.
Yeah.
It challenges us to be more mindful of our emotional impact
Right.
and to make conscious choices that support both our own well-being and the well-being of others.
You know, it's funny, listening to Rubin talk about happiness,
Yeah.
it almost feels like she's describing a superpower,
Mm-hmm.
something that allows us to not only transform our own lives,
Right.
but also make a positive difference in the world around us.
It is a superpower in a way.
Yeah.
And it's one we all have the potential to cultivate.
It's inspiring, isn't it?
It is.
The idea that something as simple as choosing happiness can have such a profound impact.
Absolutely. And it's not about being happy all the time.
Right.
It's about making those small, intentional choices that bring more joy and meaning into our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, creating a ripple effect of positivity that extends far beyond ourselves.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end part 2 on. We'll be back in a moment to wrap things up and share some final takeaways from Gretchen Rubin's inspiring talk on happiness. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been exploring Gretchen Rubin's Happiness Project and uncovering all sorts of fascinating insights about what truly makes us happy.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It has.
From the power of feeling right to the surprising impact of an empty shelf.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground.
And we've learned that happiness isn't some elusive state we passively wait for.
Right.
It's something we can actively cultivate through intentional choices and actions.
Exactly. And one of the things I appreciate about Rubin's approach is that it's both practical and inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
She gives us concrete tools and strategies
Right.
while reminding us that happiness is a lifelong journey,
Right.
not a destination.
And it's a journey that's unique to each individual.
Yeah.
What works for one person might not work for another,
Right.
and that's okay. The key is to find what resonates with you
Yeah.
and to be willing to experiment and adjust along the way.
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all formula for happiness.
Yeah.
It's about finding what brings you joy, meaning, and a sense of fulfillment.
You know, as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm struck by how many of Rubin's insights connect back to the importance of self-awareness.
It is.
Whether it's identifying our values, understanding our tendencies, or recognizing the impact our emotions have on others, it all starts with knowing ourselves.
It's the foundation of everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
The more we understand ourselves,
Right.
the better equipped we are to make choices that align with our true nature
Yeah.
and create a life that feels authentic and fulfilling.
And it's not just about introspection.
Right.
It's also about paying attention to how we feel, what energizes us, and what drains us.
Mm-hmm.
It's about noticing the subtle cues our bodies and minds are sending us.
Right. It's about tuning in to our inner compass and trusting our intuition.
And it's a process that requires ongoing effort and attention. You know, it's not a one-time thing. It's a lifelong practice of checking in with ourselves and making adjustments as needed.
It's about embracing the journey of self-discovery and recognizing that we're constantly evolving.
So for all of you listening out there, what resonated with you most from this deep dive into Gretchen Rubin's Happiness Project?
Yeah.
Was it the power of habits, the importance of self-awareness, or the idea that happiness is contagious?
Or maybe it was something else entirely. Perhaps it was the reminder that happiness is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
A choice we make every single day.
I'm personally feeling inspired to revisit some of my own resolutions.
Yeah.
And to double down on those small everyday actions that bring me joy. Maybe I'll even give that empty shelf trick a try.
I might just join you on that one, and I think I'll challenge myself to notice how many times I laughed today.
Okay.
Who knows? Maybe I can beat that average of 17.
And speaking of challenges, here's a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
If happiness is truly contagious, what kind of emotional infection are we spreading to the people around us? Are we radiating joy and positivity, or are we inadvertently contributing to a more negative atmosphere?
It's a powerful question to ponder, isn't it?
It is.
It challenges us to be more mindful of our emotional impact and to make conscious choices that support both our own well-being and the well-being of others.
So, as we go about our day, let's remember that happiness is not just a personal pursuit. It's a collective responsibility.
Right.
By choosing joy, by spreading kindness,
Yeah.
and by cultivating a more positive and uplifting atmosphere, we can create a world where happiness truly is contagious.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Gretchen Rubin and her happiness project.
Yes.
We hope you've come away with some fresh perspectives and actionable insights that will help you cultivate more joy and meaning in your own life.
And remember, happiness is a journey, not a destination. So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep choosing joy.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Lab Digest. If you receive value from the podcast, I have 3 asks of you. 1, share the show on social media with your friends and tag the show at the Wellness Lab Digest on Instagram. Number 2, please leave a rating and review in whatever app you're listening on. And last but not least, please let me know what topics you would like us to cover in the future. You can contact me at empoweringmen.org/contact. And right now we have a free ebook to get you started on your wellness journey as well. That's empoweringmen.org/contact. To support this podcast, check out our sponsors at the bottom of the page or simply click the Support the Show link.